In 1300 BC, Pharaoh Seti and his council convene to discuss an impending invasion. Seeking foresight, Seti enlists the high priestess, who uses divination powers on a ritual table with a duck's organs. The prophecy reveals that either General Moses or Prince Ramses will emerge as a leader after the war against the Hittites at Kadesh. Seti exchanges swords between Moses and Ramses as a symbol of brotherhood. The men depart with loyal troops as Ramses assumes control, strategizing near Kadesh. Simultaneously, the Hittite community carries on with their routine until a panicked soldier warns of Egyptian soldiers' arrival. Ramses signals an attack, launching a barrage of arrows that decimate the Hittite forces. The ensuing battle is fierce, marked by death and chaos. Ramses falls, but Moses intervenes, saving him with a spear. Facing overwhelming odds, Moses orders a retreat, leaving most men behind. Returning to Memphis, they receive a hero's welcome. Seti commends Moses for saving Ramses and suggests Moses is a better leader. Seti, Moses, and Ramses attend a lecture on their enemies, where Seti tasks Ramses with summarizing. The priest reports the situation in Pithom, prompting Seti to send Ramses to investigate. In Pithom, Ramses encounters the viceroy Hegep, and Moses questions the harsh treatment of slaves. Moses witnesses the brutality, but intervenes to protect a man named Joshua. To gather information, Moses engages with elders, particularly Nun, discussing religion and Canaan. Moses instructs his soldiers to gather elder names for potential use. Joshua later delivers a message from Nun, prompting Moses to confront Hegep about his oppressive rule. In the evening, Moses meets elders at a prayer house, where Nun reveals Moses's Hebrew heritage. Infuriated, Moses initially leaves but orders elders to continue the story outside. Nun continues to weave the tale of Moses's arrival in the Memphis territory, recounting how he became entwined with the royal castle's affairs after being adopted by the pharaoh's daughter. Raised in the opulence of the royal court, Moses, however, remains skeptical of Nun's narrative, leaving the place with a blend of irritation and confusion shrouding his sense of identity. As he departs, the whispers of spies from the prayer house brand him a traitor, leading to an altercation that sees Moses emerging victorious. Unbeknownst to him, 2 Hebrews witness the skirmish and hasten to report the incident to Hegep. Back in the resplendent city of Memphis, Moses is greeted with shock at the sight of a sickly pharaoh, surrounded by a cadre of physicians. Despite Moses unveiling the harsh realities of Hegep's tyrannical rule in Pithom, the perceptive Seti discerns that there is more to Moses's revelations. In the ensuing days, Seti succumbs to his ailment, and his successor, Ramses, takes on the solemn responsibility of conducting the burial ceremony for his mummified body. Ramses ascends to the throne, inheriting the mantle of leadership. In the unfolding narrative, Ramses, now the ruling pharaoh, confronts Moses about his concealed heritage. Hegep, privy to Moses's true origins, chooses a discreet moment to unravel the concealed threads of the past to Ramses. The revelation precipitates a tense confrontation between Ramses and Moses, further complicating the dynamics of power and identity. In an effort to seek clarity, Ramses summons Bithiah, Seti's daughter, and Moses' blood sister Miriam, hoping to extract the full story. However, both women choose to protect Moses' secret, affirming that he is Bithiah's son. Frustrated and feeling betrayed, Ramses resorts to threatening Miriam to coerce Moses into divulging the truth. In the face of this ultimatum, Moses capitulates, finally confessing to his hidden lineage. This admission results in Moses being incarcerated, a move that prompts the queen to advocate for his execution. However, Ramses, torn by conflicting emotions, opts for a different course of action, decreeing exile for Moses. As Moses embarks on his journey of exile, he seizes the opportunity to entreat the guard to facilitate a meeting with Bithiah and Miriam. Alone with his sister and the woman he considers his mother, Moses receives validation for his heritage. Miriam, in an act of trust, hands him a bracelet that was removed from his hand during infancy, symbolizing a connection to his true roots. The subsequent chapters of Moses' Odyssey unfold in the unforgiving desert, where he grapples with survival amidst scarcity and scorching heat. The discovery of his sword concealed on a horse offers a fleeting respite, but tragedy strikes when the horse succumbs to the harsh conditions. Forced to pause his wandering, Moses contemplates his next move. In a moment of vulnerability, Moses becomes the target of two assailants seeking to exploit his weakened state. However, his indomitable prowess prevails, and he emerges victorious against the attackers. Commandeering their horses and supplies, Moses resumes his journey across the vast desert expanse, eventually arriving at the shores of the Red Sea. Here, the narrative takes an unexpected turn as Moses observes a group of women struggling to access water, contending with a group of aggressive goat shepherds. Stepping in with his sword, Moses resolves the dispute, earning the gratitude of a woman named Zipporah. In a gesture of hospitality, Zipporah invites Moses to their community, setting the stage for a new chapter in his journey. Upon entering this unfamiliar community, Moses faces an interrogation from Zipporah's father, yet he remains reticent about his past and troubles. Initially intending a temporary stay, Moses finds himself increasingly drawn to the community's way of life. Eventually, he becomes a shepherd, forging a romantic connection with Zipporah that culminates in marriage. 9 years pass, marked by the inexorable march of time and the changing fortunes of Ramses. The once exiled Moses, now settled into a semblance of domesticity, witnesses Ramses' ambitious decree to construct a grand tomb and palace. Hundreds of slaves are pressed into service for this monumental task, with Ramses prioritizing speed over the potential challenges such rapid construction might pose. Simultaneously, Moses navigates the complexities of parenthood, engaging in conversations with his son Gershom about the legends surrounding God's mountain. Despite the devout beliefs held by the community, Moses remains a skeptic, sparking confusion and curiosity in Gershom. This ideological divergence becomes a point of discussion between Gershom and Zipporah, prompting a conversation about the education of their child. In a poignant moment, Moses, undeterred by heavy rain, continues to follow his sheep, leading them toward the forbidden mountain. As they ascend, a sudden landslide befalls Moses, causing him to lose consciousness. The subsequent hours reveal Moses waking amidst the mud, only to encounter a mysterious blue flame a few meters away. This mystical encounter takes an unexpected turn with the appearance of a child named Malak. As Moses watches, Malak creates a small pile of rocks, reminding Moses of his erstwhile role as a general and urging him to reassume leadership. Before disappearing, Malak underscores the urgency of checking on his people who are facing adversity. Sometime later, Moses regains consciousness in the familiarity of his home, tended to by Zipporah, who tends to his wounds and a broken leg. Eager to share his profound experience, Moses recounts the events on the mountain, interpreting them as a divine message. However, Zipporah remains skeptical, attributing Moses' visions to the delusional aftermath of his accident. Unyielding, Moses decides to divulge the complete truth about his past to Zipporah. Recovered from his physical injuries, Moses attempts to resume normalcy, spending time with Gershom. To his astonishment, he discovers Gershom replicating the small pile of rocks he saw on the mountain. In an inexplicable twist, the child momentarily transforms, assuming the countenance of Malak. Confronted with the undeniable persistence of his destiny, Moses grapples with the realization that a return to Memphis is inevitable. As he prepares his horse and sword for the journey, Moses seeks permission from Gershom and Zipporah, leading to a tumultuous exchange that leaves them feeling abandoned. Upon Moses' return to Pithom, a grim tableau unfolds as he witnesses slaves enduring incessant torment, with their homes set ablaze day and night. Determined to instigate change, Moses seeks out the prayer house and reunites with Nun, Joshua, and others who seem to share a familial bond. Simultaneously, Ramses awakens in the night, his restlessness hinting at the internal turmoil that grips him. Seizing the opportunity to confront Ramses, Moses issues a bold demand for the release of the slaves, invoking a divine mission. In response, Ramses dismisses Moses as a madman, orchestrating an Egyptian army's attack on Pithom in a bid to locate and apprehend him. Undeterred, the Hebrews, steadfast in their allegiance to Moses, shield him from the soldiers' inquiries. As the conflict escalates, Moses and his family find refuge underground, escaping the immediate threat. Frustrated by the lack of progress, Ramses resorts to a brutal strategy, indiscriminately targeting Hebrew families until Moses reveals himself. This drastic measure compels the enslaved people to rally behind Moses, joining forces in a collective effort to resist Ramses and his formidable army. In the ensuing days, the Hebrews toil relentlessly, forging weapons and honing their combat skills under Moses' guidance. An inundation of frogs overwhelming the city, particularly the royal palace. The third plague introduces a horde of lice and gnats, bringing a foul stench and filth, affecting both the environment and food. The fourth plague unleashes swarms of flies, resulting in skin diseases among the citizens and devastating crops. As the plagues intensify, the Hebrews send a message to Ramses, urging him to release them or face worsening calamities. However, Ramses responds with anger, increasing the slaves' workload. Moses, perplexed by the suffering of the Hebrews, questions God about the intended target of these punishments. The fifth plague manifests as a pestilence afflicting livestock, devastating essential animals like cows and royal horses. Hunger becomes rampant, leading to more punitive actions by Ramses against the Hebrews. The sixth plague brings boils on the skin of both citizens and Ramses himself, further exacerbating the misery. The seventh plague materializes as a thunderstorm of hail, accompanied by a near hurricane, causing widespread destruction. Frustration mounts within Moses, who questions God's decisions, while Malak remains a steadfast presence. The eighth plague involves a swarm of locusts blanketing the city. However, in private, Moses confesses his perceived failure to God and discards his sword into the sea. Miraculously, a falling light enters the water. The following morning, the Hebrews discover an abundance of birds above them, and Moses retrieves his sword, causing the waters to behave strangely. Realizing this as the opportune moment to cross, Moses convinces the apprehensive Hebrews with a heartfelt speech. As the waters part, Ramses' chariots hasten, resulting in a calamitous series of events. A landslide claims many soldiers' lives, and Ramses, witnessing the unfolding disaster, allows half his army to retreat. The Hebrews complete their crossing as the waters return to their original state. Ramses, bereft and alone, remains determined to confront Moses. Before their swords clash, the sea engulfs both Moses and Ramses, along with the remaining Egyptian soldiers. In the aftermath, Moses and Ramses find themselves on opposite shores. While Moses addresses his people, Ramses discovers the lifeless bodies of his entire army and realizes the diminishment of his power. Days later, Moses guides the Hebrews to his home, where he reunites with Gershom and Zipporah in a warm embrace. As the Hebrews settle, Moses ascends Mount Sinai to meet with Malak, who imparts the 10 Commandments, establishing the law for the newly liberated people. The narrative concludes with Moses fulfilling his role as a leader, guiding the Hebrews toward a promised land and setting the stage for the establishment of a new society governed by divine principles.